What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Natal Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be continuing our Pluto through houses series and taking a look at Pluto in the 9th house. So, let's get into it. What's Pluto? Pluto is the soul itself. It is the desires that emanate from the soul. It's the psyche of the soul, as well as the situations in which the soul is placed that triggers its transformation and evolution. 9th house. The 9th house is the house of higher learning. So it can be associated with things like college. It is the house of beliefs, okay, in religion, okay? It's the desire for us to, or the need for us to believe in something. It is also the house of long distance travels, okay? So, I like the 9th house a lot, actually. I really suggest everyone really take a look into the 9th house more. You can learn a lot. But that's what we're here for right now. So when you got someone with Pluto in the 9th house, this is a really strong position in terms of influence, okay? And this is a soul that is coming into this life with ingrained beliefs about particular things. We'll see here that a lot of previous lives were dedicated towards developing the belief within something or the specialization of something. So one cool thing here, or like I always say, look at the whole entire chart, is this is a soul that has a natural calling towards something. You know those people who just know what they want to do since the moment they're born? Like, I want to be an archaeologist, you know, I want to be a doctor, and they stick to that thing and they follow through on it. Or, you know, like child prodigies to some extent. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that there's some type of talent that the individual has, and it's a product of dedicating lots of time towards that particular thing, okay? Now, it's also beliefs too. And within my time within spirituality and studying astrology, one of the coolest things I found is how our lives are projections of what is within us. And this is very much so evident with Pluto in the 9th house. What you have here a lot of times is a soul who is born to, let's say, like a religious family, or maybe a racist family, or just, not to be so on the head with that, maybe let's just say closed-minded. The family has a particular way of doing things, okay? They can be extremely disciplined and closed off, and as the individuals growing up, they may not enjoy certain freedoms that other children have, right? And I'm saying all of this to show you that this is a projection. Normally the family that the individual is born into and the attitudes that come from that family reflect the stance that the individual took in previous lives. Now, we're here to grow and evolve. So the thing with Pluto in the 9th house is that the person is here to expand their mind, expand their beliefs. Instead of seeing things just one way, they want to see how they're here to learn how everything works, okay? So whether this person is a scientist, whether they're a doctor, whatever, the time that they're spending committed to whatever that thing is, deep down inside, they believe that is helping them figure out part of the truth within life, okay? So it's really interesting how it goes here. So you can have someone who just comes in very focused on a particular thing, and they spend countless time dedicating towards that thing, right? And then later in life, the bubble bursts and they're forced to see the bigger picture, okay? But at the same time, this is the person, like I said, who may be born into that religious family, and they reject it. Okay? But you really have to look at the whole entire chart, because let's say the person has a second house or fourth house influence. They may really buy into the things that, are being taught to them. Okay? So they don't challenge that till later in life. But the more planets you find at the top of the chart, along with this, the more individualized the individual would be. So they tend to reject that. So it's like they notice early that awareness is there. That's like, yeah, I don't necessarily believe this. So what happens here a lot of times, the people with Pluto in the ninth house feel like the black sheep of the family. And this is more times than not connected to like the 12th house as well. So we have a natural square from the 9th to the 12th house. So if you have energy there, or you have the ruler of that 12th house is in an interesting position, you'll really find someone who early on is just like, no, there's more to life than just being Christian, Jewish, Muslim, or whatever. They see the oneness, okay? But like I said, it can lead to someone feeling like the black sheep of the family. But what this does is it's forcing the person to develop their own beliefs, okay? But at the same time, we have people who may over-identify with what they're being taught, and they adopt this life philosophy. And these are the people who want to, I would say, like, these are the people on Facebook or social media that really get into debates, whether it be about astrology, religion. No, you're gonna listen to me. I'm getting my point across. So if you have this position, you always want to be careful of being overly dogmatic in your approach, okay? And you grow by accepting the beliefs of others. And that's the thing about, like I said, between that ninth house, the difference between the ninth house and the 12th house. The 12th house sees the bigger picture. It sees the interconnectedness. The ninth house is normally like, this is the truth. I'm looking for a particular truth. But the more you grow, the more you know. There are many different truths, okay? Next thing here with this position, like I said, specialization is key. So let's say you have this ninth house position and you got some planets in Leo, you got some in the 11th house or Aquarius, 5th house, something like that. You need to develop your individuality. If you can sing, if you play an instrument, if you can draw, you need to get the most out of that talent. That talent needs to become your religion, the developing of that, okay? That's what's going to take you very, very far within life, okay? So what happens here is that a lot, with it being the house of long distance travels, is that the person is able to see the world or see many different places through their talents, through their specializations, okay? So, let's say like you're a doctor, okay? You got Pluto in the ninth house. You may also be that doctor who born in the USA but takes up a residency in India or something like that. And that therefore, expands your view. But the real interesting thing about this position is that it really shows that everyone's truth is different. Because at the same time, you can have someone with this position who they're not religious nor spiritual. They're committed. Their religion is whatever it is that they're focused on, i.e. like a scientist, okay? And they absorb themselves in that, and that is their truth. That's what's constantly on their mind. And those type of people normally like invent stuff and things like that. So it's a really really interesting position with many different pathways of playing out. The next pathway I want to touch on is that this can also behold to someone who is like an immigrant, not born in the country but ends up relocating there. And especially if Sun is connected to this position, your whole identity changes, So now let's look at the aspects that this ninth house planet, this ninth house Pluto would make. Let's say if it was to the Sun. Now the experience or the the acclimation to the experience is really going to be seen through the aspect. So let's say we have a Sun square Pluto. This is a person who, that relocation process for them was very tough. They weren't accepted. They didn't feel like they necessarily fit in. You know, it took them a while to kind of find their niche. But then if we take the trying aspect, it kind of shows that occurs with like ease, you know, and they assimilate themselves into a different culture. Okay? Then, you know, at the heart of it, you can just have that all-around seeker. That person who is like, they're not settled with one thing. And this is normally a person who has a lot of mutable energy in general. Okay? They're flexible. This is that person that, you know, may have been grown up Christian, probably went through a period of saying like, no, I'm an atheist, then became a Muslim, saw some truth there, and then, you know, similar to the third house where your intellectual perspective is always changing, your religious or philosophical approach or belief system is always changing because it's a part of that axis of learning. Okay? Another thing I've noticed here, especially like, let's say this Pluto is connected to Saturn in some type of way, and like I said, the ninth house relates to like college. It may be hard. You may not get to achieve those particular ninth house things like college until later in life. Okay? Or things like traveling. Okay? And I'll end with that point right there. It's very important for these people to travel. The more traveling you do, the more you expand your perspective. Okay? So there's someone out there with Pluto in the ninth house who is struggling. You know, struggling. They're probably lost in ignorance. And you know, they're like a product of their environment. And the reason that they're a product of their environment could be, like I said, over-identifying with, you know, family values and way to, you know, buying into things that were around them and not forming their own opinions, and also not being able to travel and see that there's more to life. Okay? And you know what? This actually brought me to a point that I kind of wanted to make with this. I'm not sure if anybody knows like Jim Jones, not the rapper, but the religious leader of a cult back in the day who took people to somewhere, I think it was like in Africa, and ended up, you know, killing everybody within like this huge mass genocide. You can have someone who is morally corrupt here if, you know, this Pluto is in harsh aspect or particular aspect to like a Mars, or it's a lot of factors that go into this. If the fourth house is damaged, the Jupiter is afflicted as well. This can show someone whose moral compass is just off. A con artist, a fraud, you know, possibly even like a serial killer or something like that. Okay? It's a lot. It's a lot. And I know all of this, one, through observation and just also meditation, man. I tell y'all, meditate on these positions in these planets, and then your third eye, when you really start to get that thing in alignment, the environment will show you everything in which I'm talking about. All right? So this is my interpretation of Pluto in the ninth house. If you have this position, feel free to chime in. Let me know what you think. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, you can do so now. If you need a reading, holla at me. Till next time, peace.